So, Ed, it's been a while since the Grey Ashes finished. Now, how do you reflect on it looking back?
Harrison, well, hey, look, reflection is a really important part of that because we'll learn a lot from the great 5 weeks that we had. I mean, I reflect on three things really. One is that the Australians looked after us incredibly well. We did have a super trip, 5 weeks around Australia, starting in Brisbane and then going down to Canberra and up to Sydney to fly down to Melbourne, over to Adelaide, and then to Perth is a dreamy trip. So the trip itself was wonderful. The second one really is about the cricket. You know, we were a little bit behind the curve to begin with, as I think everyone knows, and certainly on those first two ODIs. But we did start making progress. And actually, I reflect. I'm very proud of the boys that actually the our performance got better and better, as evidenced towards the end. And there's nothing that we should be afraid of around the Australians coming over this year. There are, you know, we're as good, if not a better side. We were just a bit behind the curve. And the third thing I reflect on is the enormous amount of work that goes into these tours. And I'm very grateful to, we're all very grateful to not only, the players, but Paul and Chris and Mel and Rash and Tony for their support in the support department, but also the work of Dina and Claude in the Australian side who pulled this tour together. A great treat and a wonderful experience.
You mentioned defeats in the first two ODIs there. You went into the third one with it all on the line. You needed to win three in a row to keep hold of the Ashes effectively. And that third ODI can be viewed as one that got away, couldn't it?
Yeah, Harrison, I think you're right. You know, we had, as you can imagine, that selection meeting prior to the third ODI was an important one. We got into the mind of the batters who perhaps us batters hadn't really performed. And we were confident that we could put on a better show. And so we stuck broadly with the same principle in the third one. And we didn't perform again. And thanks to Steve Aston and to Jason Cornt, we got a score. And then it was, yeah, we were in the box seat, and just things slipped away from us. An injury, a couple of drop catches, a couple of bad overs, and suddenly the Australians had got level. So that was a huge disappointment, and lots to learn from that.
But then, importantly, you finished with wins in the fourth and fifth ODIs. How important was that for yourself and the team?
Well, great question. Yes, it did feel handing the Ashes over at Tanunda after the third ODI as though we had a lot of work to do to bring the tour back on track. But hey, look, the boys were in good form. We were having a wonderful experience in Australia. We got ourselves together, and that fourth ODI at College Park was a wonderful experience actually. And you know, we put them in. They got to that 220, 228, I think it was, or 223. And again, we got off to a reasonable start and were looking good. But when a couple of wickets clattered and fell, we were under a bit of pressure. But, Razzie Ahmed and Simon Routh batted magnificently towards the end to get us over the line, which is the sort of batting that we'd hoped of us all the way through the tour. But we finally managed to pull something of that together.
You mentioned the partnership between Simon and Razzie there. It rescued you from a perilous position to a winning one, of course. What was it like being on the sidelines watching that unfold?
Well, I think it's fair to say, Harrison, that with 6 overs to go, and we needed about 70 or something like that. Head chins were down a little bit, but actually, once the momentum got going, you know what it's like at the end of a cricket match when it can go all three ways with a couple of overs to go. And I think them getting 24 in those last two overs raised the chins, and the excitement levels grew. And sure enough, we got over the line.
And when we were at Loughborough before the tour, you spoke a lot about wanting to build kind of that squad environment. Where are you as a squad and a group after that tour?
Yeah, great question. I think we've made real progress. 5 weeks, 32 days in Australia. There were no punch-ups, there were no dramas. We all behaved ourselves, and of course, there's some disappointments around not being picked for ODIs in particular. But I think we've made real progress, helped enormously by, some of the rules we set down, the attitude of the players. We had 12, I think, wives and partners and families out, which was also very helpful. And of course, as I say, the Australians looked after us. So I think we've made real progress. There's a bit more to go, but I'm very confident that, come the summer, we'll be in good shape to make that, even better.
And the tensions, of course, are turning to the summer now. There is another Grey Ashes series to come with the Australians coming over. And I mean, after the last one on these shores and your trip over there this winter, it should be another great advert for seniors cricket.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a big old summer coming up, Harrison, as you know. We've got the West Indies coming for a series of three ODIs, and of course the Lions will play a significant part in all of this as well. We've then got the Australians towards the end of June and through a lot of July for another five ODI series, and it's great news they're coming back to hopefully hand the urn back to us in the summer before a 2 week trip for the USA in the middle of August. And that, of course, excludes games against Wales and Scotland and potentially Tri Nations in the autumn. So we've got a very, very busy summer, which we look forward to.
And West Indies and USA are two different countries, haven't played for a while as a team, and they will present different challenges for you and your side to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, we know them a little bit from previous encounters in the World Cup. And of course, the West Indies back in Barbados in 2023. But they will have changed a lot. They'll be growing as nations in the over 60s. And, there will be some surprises. And we're going to have to be on our mettle to take them on and beat them.